Good evening. Design Review Board 1 public meeting of June 30th, 2011 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker's cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by calling our DRB hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at their discretion. Roll call. Mr. Ellis.
Present.
Mr. Nsua is not here. Ms. Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Simonian is not here. Mr. Yu.
Here.
Great. Report regarding posting the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on June 23rd, 2011. Oral communications. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not a part of the agenda? Any cards?
No cards.
Okay. Great. We're down to our, we don't have any consent items. We're down to our regular review calendar. Staff does have one announcement, and that is Case A at 250 South Glendale. It's 1 PDR 2011-012A. We didn't receive all the information in time, and so we'd like to continue that to June 14th. Is there a motion to...
I'll move to...
I'm sorry, July 14th.
I'll move 1 PDR 2011-012A, move to July 14th. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. Second?
I'll second.
And roll call for this. Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Yu?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll begin with the next case at 819 Orange Grove.
Good evening, board members. The case number for the first project is 1 PDR 2011-023, located at 819 Orange Grove Avenue. This is a first-time submittal for final review. The proposal is to demolish the existing detached garage and construct a new attached two-story second unit at the rear of the existing house, as well as construct two attached two-car garages to serve the existing as well as the new units. The existing lot, the property is essentially flat. It features one-story single-family house that was built in 1924. The lot is rectangular in shape and has pedestrian and vehicular access from Orange Grove Avenue. There are no oak, bay, or sycamore trees on the site. Subject property is located in the R2250 medium-density residential zone. Staff has reviewed this project, worked with the applicant, and has brought it to a level where staff was comfortable recommending an approval with a couple of conditions. One is to provide access to the common outdoor area from the rear unit by either providing a door from the garage or the master bedroom, because the existing access that's being proposed is running from the front of the existing unit, which is a long walk, and it will discourage the using of that common outdoor area. And the second one is staff recommends redesigning the placement of windows on the west elevation for a less regular or symmetrical design or pattern. That is my brief presentation. I am available for questions if you do have any, and the applicant, the homeowner, are also here if you have any questions for them.
Any questions from guys?
You're talking about this common area back here? Is
That would be more visible on the site plan.
Yeah, right, okay. Thank you.
No questions.
Just to clarify, the proposal is also to change the windows of the existing house, as well as add 241 square feet to the existing house, which is divided into two portions, along with the two-car garages and the new second unit. I don't know if I mentioned it, just want to clarify.
Do you know how much of the existing roof they're changing? Because it looks different than the picture.
Well, they are adding to the front and to the side, so I suppose it will change some of the existing roof, but not to a degree where it requires the taking out of the entire roof. And it's probably best that I let the...
This is the house, right?
Correct. Probably best that I let the architect address that one with perhaps more precise numbers for you.
That's what it's called.
Any more questions?
No, that's it.
Okay. I have one speaker card here from the applicant, Aram Matsukanian. If you just, your name and address for the record.
Hi, board members. My
don't
name
think
is
it's
Aram.
on.
Hello. Hi, board members. My name is Aram Natsakanyan, 910 South Glenox Boulevard in Burbank. I'm an applicant of this project. So the main thing actually...
Speak into the mic more. It's hard to hear you. Thank you.
The main thing we try to keep the same at the style of architecture whatever is at in existing unit. Even though we are doing a little addition in existing unit too, a little in the front and a little in the back, we are keeping the same architectural elements whatever is over there exist, and changing the windows, we are keeping the window frame and window seals whatever is existing, and whatever coming with the craftsman style. And in a back unit and in a garage, we also using the same window treatment elements, all that, and doing the actually dividing the second floor from the first floor in that back unit. We are dividing that with a wooden trim, which one gonna actually make it not to look massive, that the second unit, and to play with the roof elevations in a garage, in between of units and the second floor roof. We just try to give more, like if you look at the east and west elevation, so that is visible from existing house, actually going a little down, after that going a little up, after that more higher. Which one gives, by my opinion, that's more interesting to the project. If you have questions, I'm gladly to answer your questions.
I have one question. Are these vents, or looks like shutters, or what are these?
Vent openings.
How large are those vents?
They are like 14 by 2 feet, 14
one?
inches by 24.
Each one, each side?
Yes. There is actually an existing house. We are trying to keep the same elements in the new two.
And my other question is, it doesn't appear there's any access to these decks that you have planting on. They're all windows. There's no way to get to them or to plant them.
There is not access over there. There is just a planting.
Okay. I think that's the only questions I have.
How much of the roof is being changed out on the existing?
In existing one, changing about like 40%,
So the whole
Little
back
in the
portion.
front, little in the back.
The whole back portion, right?
Yeah, the back
This
portion.
part's all gone then.
Yeah,
Are you creating one larger roof to cover all of that? So this is getting
Yeah.
eliminated too? So it's a new,
that one actually stays. One side is stays, one side is going. Yeah.
right, so this whole side's gone
Yeah,
and
yeah.
this is all gone. So you're just going to extend this out? and
Actually,
create-
over there is also non-conforming. Can I come and show there? Right over here.
If you could come up here.
Yeah, why
and
don't you come up
show-
here, Joe?
There's a mic.
Pointer around there someplace, right? Here. Here's a pointer.
Actually, on this portion, there is another roof is built up at the California roof. The other way, if you see an existing one, this one, the thing is, this one looks like done at the later on because of the chimney is non-conforming now. Chimney height should be at least 2 feet higher than the roof at the steep in between. Like
So it's not the case
24.
where the chimney portion fell down or anything? Did they actually
No.
roofed it under?
No. This one, if you see on the top, there is also the spark arrestor on the top.
Right.
That one is existing.
Okay.
We are just going to take out this portion and leave the rafters whatever original there. Take out only the California portion actually.
Oh, I see.
They got
the hip, right?
This portion. Right over here.
But that's the larger portion though, that's encompassing the back portion of it though, so, okay. Okay,
It's right over here.
I think I just have one more question, but I think it would be okay if you can answer
Sure.
it back. Thank you. On the back unit, there's a portion where you've put some planting above the roof areas that's turning that corner, creating sort of a parapet
Yeah.
with a... Can you talk a little bit more about that and what you intend to do with sort of the materials?
Can I show it there?
No, you can just talk about it. Can you? I mean, we all know.
Actually, if you
Roughly what
look
you're
at
talking
the
about.
west elevation, and originally we have, if you see that on the second floor, the window, originally that one was door. And that going out to a balcony, that portion, wherever is little wider. But when we're working with the staff, with the Georg and the Stephanie, so we decide actually not to have a balcony there, to have the window, and all the way to have the planter there. So, I mean, my opinion actually, that one is close to the property line, and the next door there is 3 story, the multifamily residential unit. That's why we decide just to take out that portion, balcony, and to leave like green, like at the screen there, like a planters. So that's only the idea. We just keep it like that, and also we just at the recess that second floor wall from the first floor because of the setback averaging. And instead of having the roof there, so we decide to have the planter, which one making more softer and more nicer, I mean, atmosphere. That west elevation.
I have one question. Are you okay with the staff's recommendations?
Sure.
Those work, okay. Thank you.
No more
Any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And I have no more cards, so we're going to close the public hearing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ellis, do you have any comments?
Sure, I'll step in. I had an opportunity to go out and look at the property over the weekend. It's definitely an improvement on your project over what you're existing there. Obviously, with that large 3-story building next door, it's tough to, under the current zoning, you want to be as big as possible, but not quite. It's interesting. Mrs. Palmer hit on a couple of things I was going to comment on. I was wondering about the vents. They do look a little out of place. I didn't see the one that the applicant mentioned that was on the house to see what he was matching. I didn't notice that. Okay, there you go. They do look a little big on that second story. The plantings on the deck confused me also, and but I'll defer back. But I took one look and said, how are you going to water those? Right, that was my thought. The one thing, and I talked to staff a little bit earlier, it's a 10-foot wide driveway. No one's going to be able to go down that driveway, hook a right turn, and get into this far garage. I guess it's code, but that's going to be a tough turn to make. A Mini might be able to do it, but most vehicles are not, which then leads to believe you're not parking the driveway at all. That was just a little bit of a concern. I mean, just from a living standpoint. I mean, you guys, I think your owner had a pickup truck parked in the driveway on Sunday, and he had about 6 inches, if that, on each side to the wall. You know, you're never going to get your pickup truck into that garage. I'll guarantee you that.
I use it for
Do you? Okay. Well, yeah. But I'm just saying that narrow, 10-foot driveway and a hard turn. And then I certainly could support the staff's comments also. But other than that, I would support the project with changes.
Mr. Yu?
First comment, I think there might be an issue with your roof, and so you need to take a look at that regarding the percentage of how much you're demoing out. I was just looking at, I mean, that's sort of a rough sort of what you have as your existing, and you're basically taking out that whole side of it, and so your 50%, stuff could kick in. So just be wary of that. I don't want you to get too far into it without having to backtrack and do that. I think the use of the siding is an existing material that's already there, and you're using it for the back portion of it. Sort of a shame that the existing house, it's losing some of what sort of the character that's there a little bit. I'm not too crazy about the stucco front being placed in front of the siding and all that, but I mean, it's okay. The entry to the door, it's proportionally, I don't know, it's not working right. You've kind of located the door and just crunched it sort of in this corner as you're walking in, and I think the entry could use a little more help in designing that portion of it. Your planters on the top of those the parapet walls, I think you should reconsider. They're not going to be helping you that much, and it's going to create a whole other issue for the owners that are living there. I mean, you're going to have water intrusion coming in. And I think it looks like it came out of the idea of having a patio that maybe didn't work out. So, hey, let's put a planter up there. And, it's so... I think it'd be better if you just used, sort of a similar roof and just kind of kicked it back, and keep it clean, keep it the same look as the rest of it. Because it's not... If it was an element that really helped the building, maybe in that corner, I think it'd be a good addition to kind of change it up in that back end of it, but I don't think it's doing that, and just creating a bigger mass on the back portion of it. So I think keeping it clean, with the windows to do a nice proportion, I think it would work out better that way. Besides that, I think, if it looks a little crowded in there, but I think it could work. It's what it's zoned for in that area, so I'd be okay with that.
Well, I agree with the comments. I mean, I do think the vents look a little large, and maybe because there's so many of them. You might look at that, relook at that. The planter areas are not going to be planted because there's no access. There's not going to be any plants in there. Nobody's going to maintain them. So that's going to look like an area that's doesn't go with the building. I think I agree with Mr. Yu. If there's a little roof or something on there that would be much easier to maintain, it would stay looking nice, and it would tie in with the building more. I don't have a problem, but I'm going to make a comment regarding the windows. I was looking at the different rooms, and all the windows are similar in size. If you have a bathroom, you've got a big window. If you've got a living room, it's the same size window. And all the windows don't necessarily relate to the function of that room. And it might have been a little more interesting to change some of the sizes of those. Just a comment. And regarding the landscaping and staff's comment on that little patio area, having access to the common area, I don't think it's going to happen. And I know you've designed this with a master bedroom, but if you took just a couple feet, brought that master bedroom, inset it a little, and you'd end up with like a 10-foot patio you could use for that master bedroom, because as of now, you're going to go out to a 6-foot patio, and it's nothing you can do with it. and you're not going to be using that open space because of lack of access. So that's just a comment. And then some of the plantings, you might just take a look at putting trees 1 foot from the property line. They're going to get large on that east side. And some of the shrubs you've got in the back where the dining room is, you're just going to be having the shrubs, they're 8-foot wide shrubs in a 5-foot area, so the dining room is going to have just leaves in front of it. Those are just minor things. Other than that, I think that sums up my comments. Any other questions?
I do. I have one question for Mr. Yu for clarification. The comment regarding the entry, was it?
It's an awkward entry.
In terms of size, location?
Both, I mean, there's no real, not a welcoming entry. The door is sort of just placed next to the wall. The proportion of this thing, and I mean, I'm sure the height of it is probably going to be in here somewhere. It's just not a nice space, and compared to, I guess, what it was, it's kind of a shame.
And did
I
you-
don't know how to put into words
A redesign
what
of
you
an
need to
entry?
do, but it just needs to be redesigned. I don't know.
Redesign, and that you would like to be as a condition or consideration?
I think it should be a.
I'm sorry, is that for the front unit or for the back unit?
For the front,
Front
unit.
unit.
For the front unit.
The street
I think
view.
what you're saying, this whole front area gives it a little shadow.
Well, not just that, but I
Why
mean,
it's-
you can
why
imagine
is it-
that looks basically like an apartment entry of what you
Right.
would go into, like a 20 unit place or something.
As opposed to-
sensitivity to the entry of it, but consideration's fine. Yeah, just take a look at it.
And two questions for Ms. Palmer. One regarding the master bedroom that's on the second floor, correct? We're talking about the
No, I'm
big,
talking about the
Ground
first
floor,
floor.
too.
are we talking about the front unit or the?
No, I'm talking on the east side.
Yeah, the front unit,
unit.
master bedroom in the front unit.
Okay, now I see.
Do you see where she's talking?
Yes. All right, so reduce the
Right here.
size of the addition to provide larger outdoor
I'm just saying,
area?
they're not going to have access to this patio, so just consider reducing that a little in order to...
That's also consideration? And my last question is also for Ms. Palmer regarding the plants. I know you had comments and
I would just
Concerns.
it's a consideration, but right now you have, I can understand the landscape architect's trying to put some trees, but it's in a 1-foot area. We've got some large trees that
may not
it's not
survive.
practical.
Okay.
And then some of the shrubs at the rear, maybe put something that's not going to be quite as crowded into the dining room.
Okay.
So the way that I have taken that down, on the east side, move the trees away from the property line and reduce the size of the shrubs.
I don't know that there's room for a tree in a 5-foot
Oh, really?
area.
At the front?
Pygmy trees? Pygmy trees?
Pygmy trees. On that east side, it's just, whatever's planted is going to be right, basically on the property
Oh, I
line.
see. So
Maybe a tree
reconsider the use of the trees on the east side at all, except for
I
on
think there's
the,
existing ones, but
right. And reduce the size of the shrubs on the east
shrubs in the
side?
back, there's some, they're called dodonia shrubs, right in front of the dining room window,
Okay,
and they're going to get about 8 feet wide, and you only have a 5-foot planter, so quite messy.
okay, so choose
on the north
another type. Is
yeah.
there something you would recommend?
It might even be
Yeah,
nice to
right
just have
outside the
some vines on that back wall, so you get
Okay.
some space.
Replace dudonias with vines for the fence.
Or some narrow plantings.
Okay, great.
All right, so with that, vents, that we had two comments on vents being too large or not fitting within the design. Was there a specific condition that you wanted the applicant to follow?
Say
I think
reconsider?
you should
Smaller?
reconsider them.
Consider,
They're-
yeah.
Okay, so that's also a consideration. All right, and the two,
Yeah, I have a question about staff's recommendation. The second one regarding the roof element of the south-facing balcony. I'm
yes,
assuming it's these, right?
no,
That eyebrow in the south elevation, I think?
Which one is?
Right there.
Oh, okay.
How far does that project?
I believe only
Well,
18 to 24 inches.
That's not it?
I think it's hidden.
Oh, right, it's hidden. Yeah, I see you. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's just a freestanding.
Yeah.
That's just a standing eave, in fact.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. And I don't know how structurally they're going to hold that up.
3-4 inches.
If that's not considering the, can I add a condition about
Of course.
the balconies? I think, I mean, these all stem from this look that kind of merged into that, and then they wrapped it around in different places. But to maybe reconsider looking at that, because it becomes a foreign object.
Are we talking about both north and east elevations, or just
All elevation. I mean, to make it consistent throughout.
the balconies, correct? Is it the railing that doesn't?
Especially on
I
the
think the
east
whole
one.
thing. I think
It's
it's
a
too
different
massive. Yeah.
material. It just sort of looks like it's pasted on.
Okay.
So reconsider that there are balconies there, or reconsider the design of the
The
balconies?
design of the balconies.
Okay.
Integrate them more into the,
Especially if they're going to be if they're going to redesign the whole wrapping parapeted area.
All right, and the two other comments by staff, you would like us to put that as conditions or considerations as well?
The window one, I think, has definitely got to be I mean, they need to do something with the windows. You
Yeah,
pointed that out.
I think what we meant on that condition is to, as Chair Palmer was saying, to review the windows and provide some hierarchy and composition to the windows. Now, we were focused on that one particular face, but if you'd like for that to be a consideration around the building, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea. So I think that should read as reconsider the size and location of the windows to provide some hierarchy and more thoughtful design around the building.
Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
can you reread everything, so?
Yes. All right, the first comment is to consider redesigning the vents that will match with the size of the roof and be more proportionate. The second comment was to redesign the entry and the porch. The third one was to reconsider the balconies or redesign the balconies the way they're integrated with the existing house or the proposed second unit. Reconsideration of the windows and their sizes and how they all reflect each room and their use, such as bathroom may have the same size window as the living room, which will also in a way work with the comment that staff had made regarding the hierarchy of windows. Plants on the north and the east side should be reconsidered as they may be too large for the space provided. And consider pushing the master bedroom of the front unit back or make the additions smaller to provide additional space for the outdoor.
It's just a consideration.
That's also a consideration. And
So did we want, on that consideration, did we want to also include the consideration to provide access to the common area from the front unit? Do you want to continue including that?
If they don't do something with the bedroom, yes.
Okay. And then we also have a note of the planted areas that are shown on the roof should not be planted areas. They should be roofs. And as far as the planting on the east side, the way that we have that reading is to remove the trees on the east side and to replace the Dudonia shrub to a smaller shrub or vine.
Would revise that, removing the trees, because there's some existing, removing the proposed.
Remove proposed trees. Got it.
And I think your staff comment about the eyebrow on the balcony.
that's correct. The freestanding eave projecting over the second floor balcony is also considered to be removed? Or would that be a condition?
Balcony or
No, the
Or
eyebrow.
the south-facing balcony of the second unit?
the brow over the balcony,
Right,
not the
there in
balcony.
the balcony.
Yes, the eave overhang.
You redesign that area because it needs something, but,
Well, they will be redesigning the balconies because it's,
so include that in with the balconies.
okay. So the entire balcony comment with that eve should be a condition, the way I understand from the board?
I think so, especially since we're
Because there
eliminating
seems to be a strong
planting area.
Reconsider it. yeah.
agreement on that.
Right.
Okay, then I think that wraps it up. Motion?
You have a motion?
I'll move to accept it with the conditions as stated.
How does staff feel about with all those conditions?
Comfortable, I think.
I
Is that
second.
a second?
All right, we have a motion made by Mr. Ellis to approve with comments and conditions, second by Mr. Yu. This is a roll call. Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Yu?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
It's not bad.
Thank you.
Do we have everything up for the second part? And our last project is 1 PDR 2011-030P at 203 to 215 West Los Feliz. Staff report on that?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a first-time submittal for preliminary review. The proposed project includes the development of a new affordable rental housing project located within the South Brand Boulevard specific plan in the CG Commercial General Zone. The proposed development is a joint project between Mercy Housing California and the City of Glendale Housing Authority. The project site includes 4 adjoining lots totaling approximately 35,300 square feet. The project site is currently developed as a surface parking lot used by the Glendale Memorial Hospital and Medical Center employees. The proposed development includes a total of 53 units composed of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, 2,000 square feet of commercial space, and approximately 202 parking spaces within 3-level parking garage that includes 1 subterranean level and 2 levels above ground. The parking is proposed for both the proposed use as well as replacement parking for the employee parking lot that's going to be removed. The commercial space and residential lobby are proposed at the ground level along Los Feliz Road at the front of the parking garage. 4 levels of residential will be constructed above the garage podium level with 2-story elements proposed at the rear of the property, which would afford some relief to the existing 2-story apartment buildings north of the project site. The proposed U-shaped building footprint allows for a central courtyard area that opens towards the north, further providing a relief to the existing 2-story apartment buildings. Additional common open space areas are provided as rooftop patios on the 3rd and 4th residential floors. The building is designed with a variety of materials that includes stucco, glass panels, and fiber cement board siding in a variety of patterns. Staff does support the project overall, site plan, layout, and the quality of design, materials, and details, and we'll be continuing to work with the applicant as they move forward towards a final design review. The staff report does include 5 items that the board may want to consider as it develops recommendations for the project. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer questions. And we also have the architect, project applicant, and representative from the Housing Authority with us today. Thank you.
Any questions?
No. I don't.
And we can, I've got 2 speaker cards. I don't know who wants to speak first. Ben Phillips? Okay. So just use your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Ben Phillips. I'm the Regional Director for Mercy Housing here in Southern California. My address is 1500 South Grand Avenue in Los Angeles. Thank you, board members, for the opportunity to review our preliminary plans on this tonight. Mercy Housing is working with the city and a service provider called New Directions to create supportive housing opportunities and services for veterans in the city. We've developed these conceptual plans very quickly over approximately 6 weeks in order to meet some late-breaking funding deadlines of the cities, and appreciate the assistance we received from staff in putting these together. Mercy Housing owns and operates 6,000 apartments in California and serves about 50,000 people nationally. This proposal property that is owned by the hospital, Glendale Memorial Hospital, and next to the hospital campus is possible in part because we have a special relationship with the parent company of Glendale Memorial Hospital, Catholic Healthcare West. We've developed a number of developments on their campuses and on adjacent properties due to a nonprofit affiliation that we have with the hospital. We see this preliminary design as the first step in an inclusive community design process, which we typically use on all of our developments. So we would anticipate meeting over the next couple of months with the city, the hospital, the veterans community, and the area neighbors, and look forward to receiving feedback from you tonight so that we can return in, as I said, in some weeks in the future with a more fully developed plan, which we can go on to build to serve low-income families and veterans in the community.
Okay, thank you. And I have Jeff, is it Mentor? Just leave your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Board. Jeff Mertzel with Tagawa Smith Martin, 444 Flower Street. I don't know if you guys have any questions I can answer on the building or...
No, I think we'd like to hear you maybe talk about the conceptual ideas that went behind starting the project and
Sure,
how
yeah.
you kind of went around and created the elevations and those kinds of things.
Well, we worked with staff and we wanted to... well, this project's visible from a lot of sides, especially two sides on Los Feliz, so we wanted to address the experience from either an automobile or a pedestrian perspective, and also have an interplay with the scale of the buildings that are around. So we have kind of a main feature on the corner of Los Feliz. There's a blue mast there that kind of carries through the building and becomes the focal element on the different sides of the building. So you can kind of see that blue element ground itself in the corner and then carry itself through the building. And that actually is a feature that is the entrance to the residential portion, as well as the small retail space below, and an indoor-outdoor open space on the third level, which is somewhat of a portal that will provide views. And then 2 stories above that, you have another viewing deck, which will also view out. We created many courtyards or outdoor spaces in the building, besides the interior courtyard. And also another thing we wanted to do was we wanted to have this building, the architecture to ground itself. So we do have a raised garage, about 1.5 stories. So we wanted to make sure that the architecture was well integrated into that. So there's not a pedestal. The building's really not sitting on a pedestal, but it's more integrated together as a whole. And then we used other devices and massing to kind of break down the scale of the building. So, unlike, well, we do have the hospital on the other side, but we didn't want to just create a large mass. We wanted to still kind of carry the scale of the neighborhood. So you'll see many different heights, which would address the neighbors on either side and also to the rear, which I think helps break down the scale. At the same time, we're using colors and different materials to kind of reinforce that. And you'll notice that as you go around the building, there's really not a side per se or a rear. It's articulated throughout. Yep.
Thank you. I'll close the public session. Mr. Yu.
Actually, may I ask just one quick question
I'm
to the
sorry.
staff? No, I'm sorry, just before he starts. I'm presuming this still has to get some variances and things?
Yeah, because it's an affordable housing project, they can apply for a density bonus housing agreement, which would allow them to get certain concessions and waivers from the zoning code. So they're technically not variances, but they would need like setback, height, stories, and
Right.
potentially additional open space as well.
Yeah, if I may add, usually a project especially a project of the size, would have gone before the Planning Commission prior to coming to you. That's typically what you've seen in the past. Because of our timelines on this, We're bringing it to you in its preliminary form in order to assist the Housing Authority in making a decision as to whether or not to enter a relationship to be able to utilize some funding that had been previously assigned to a project that won't be going forward.
Okay.
So that sets the
that's
context
why,
for
okay.
you a little bit. And so to expand a little bit on what Mr. Kraus and the applicant has said, in order to very quickly get to a point where we felt there would be enough material for you to review, we met fairly regularly with the applicant, informing them of what we've heard from you in the past, some general design principles that we've worked with in order for them to develop a massing proposal that would work on this site where it needs to have a very three-dimensional approach, where there's a very monumental building right across the street, but much smaller scale buildings just behind. So that's a little bit about the context. And your advice and direction to them at this point, it's a very preliminary point in the process, so your advice and direction would really help them formulate the design.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I think, first of all, I'd like to commend sort of bringing the project in a preliminary stage. I think that really helps us to get a sense for the project and get familiar with what's going on, because it is, it's a large enough project that it's got its own complexities within it and the site itself. And another thing is that, Tagawa Smith, you guys do a lot of housing projects, and so you're very good at that. So there's certainly a certain level that's expected, and I think it's there. I appreciate the fact that it's developed enough that there's enough that we can start the conversation and talk about it, because sometimes we get projects where sort of just kind of thrown together and it's not even worth talking about in a sense, and so we appreciate that, the graphics and sort of the standard that you brought to it. So we appreciate that. The one thing that when I first saw it, I think I really like the elevations in that all four sides are sort of interactive in what you're trying to do. And in the same way, I guess it's kind of good and bad. I think it's good in the sense that there is the complexity, there's sort of the repeating items that are there that kind of, you can get a hold of and say, okay, I see this pattern going with this, the verticality of this element versus that. But also, it kind of gets lost a little bit because it becomes the same thing all the way around. And so I think one thing that I would maybe encourage is that, depending on what side, sun exposure, those kinds of things, address some of those issues using maybe different elements that would kind of show that, okay, this building, that must be their north face because of this. That must be their southern face because of that. I think that would give it a whole other level that, would bring a little more success to the project. The one differentiation that's there is the commercial corner right off of Los Feliz. In that corner, it's very prominent. I could see it. It makes sense. Now, am I right? It's just the bottom floor that's commercial, right? The rest of it is sort of decks and parts of decks and stuff. Maybe bring in a little bit more of the materials that are from the other side, so it doesn't become language-wise, because it reads almost like, wow, this is the commercial corner. It's all commercial, slam dunk, period. But maybe address that a little bit. I think it makes sense. The front end is sort of your largest face. It's going a little more vertically, and then it tapers down on the left and right sides, as well as in the back. It's doing a good job of stepping down as it gets into the smaller, maybe residential areas in the back, the gas station in the corner. It's not always going to be maybe a gas station, so addressing that corner makes sense. I think it's got a very good presence on that side, and when you're looking at that one view where it shows the hospital on one side and then this building going in, there is a relationship mass-wise, and so I understand what's going on there. Use of materials, I think it's good. You're using a lot of materials, and you're very good using them, and so I think you'll apply them well. That's going to make a lot of sense. It's just so it becomes a little bit more about organizing your materials in a sense that this is the podium. These are the things sitting on top of it. These are my vertical elements, maybe. And it's just maybe the time that you spend, and it sounds like you haven't had much time working on it. So I think taking it to the next level, it's very promising, and I think I look forward to seeing the project again. So
Mr. Ellis?
Yeah, my comment was, first off, great job in 6 weeks. I'm impressed. I'm very familiar with that piece of property because I used to live down in the area, drive by it all the time. I always wondered what was going to happen to it. I'm interested. I wondered actually why the vacant lots to the east were not included, but they must not be part of the hospital's property. Right? It's too bad. 'Cause, my first thought when I looked at it was, boy, it's really busy. But I think that, and maybe I think from Mr. Yu's comments, I like the articulation. I think it's working well. It might just be that reconsideration of, did we maybe go a little too far with breaking up the materials and how to use it. But other than that, I look forward to seeing the project completed.
I agree, it's a nice project, and I like the articulation. My one concern is when you're developing this is to consider the south elevation. We have projects similar to this in size, and after that's done, especially with living units, the sun coming in, they're harder to rent, and it's just way too hot. So consider the overhangs and setting things back. And the other comment I have is I like the juxtaposition of everything on the upper floors, but the lower 3 floors, I think, lose a human scale because it's more vertical, and if maybe where the parking area, you've got them like the iron fencing or the grill work, that type of thing, if you can get some articulation, just some recess, so that it doesn't look so different from the upper floors, because from people on the street, they're not going to be looking up and be able to look back. So that's just, I think that's my only comment. Otherwise, good job. Any other questions?
No, but I was just wondering maybe if they would maybe like an opportunity to come back and maybe ask some specific questions that maybe we address, because this is sort of a little different, that it's a
That's
working,
fine. Yep. I can
session.
open this session again. Does anybody have any questions or comments, or are you satisfied?
I had one question.
Sure.
The recesses, are you talking on all the bottom portion, or just
No, I
like the
think-
west
I
facade?
think the west and the west and east sides.
Okay.
Just some little play there, because it's very vertical, and walking by, it's going to look very tall.
Okay.
Okay?
I have a couple questions. We heard from you that you appreciated the articulation. We heard also that it may be a little bit busy, and maybe as the project moves forward, the architectural ideas can become a little stronger. Would that be an appropriate way to put what we've heard? Because as we move forward, we'll be working together to try and interpret what you've said. So since we have you here, I thought maybe I'd take a shot at it. One of the things that we did work together on is trying to integrate the lower floors, because they're garage floors, into the upper portion. And so your comment about potentially recessing those bottom floors is
Not
very
recessing
useful.
the floors.
No, recessing some of the windows. That's part of the reason that those vertical elements have the same material, to try to help integrate that. So the idea of recessing some of the treatments, I think those are probably grills because of the mechanical ventilation that's necessary, but also breaking down the scale of those openings is probably going to be useful to helping integrate that. And we also heard from Board Member Yu that even though you seem to appreciate the strong statement of that glazed corner element on the, let's see if I can get that right, southwest corner of the building, you also seem to think that that piece looked a little too commercial and should be brought more into the body of the building. Would that be a fair assessment of?
No, I mean,
Because that's a little bit of a struggle, because it's not a commercial corner, but there's an effort on the architect's part to recognize that because of the way Los Feliz curves, that is really truly a gateway site, and that's the piece of the building that will be extremely prominent. So even though that's not a commercial corner, it was pulled out volumetrically.
Right. I don't have a problem with it reading as a commercial block. I guess conceptually I was thinking that, well, the upper floors aren't really commercial, but they're glazed and are dressed as a commercial space. But I guess,
So that maybe if there's a way to do both and, having it read as a volume but tying it back into the residential building?
maybe it's got hints of the other stuff.
Okay.
Something like that. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it being a glazed sort of, almost like a lighthouse kind of point in the corner, but yeah, I think it'd be okay if they maybe
Okay.
tied it back a little bit with the rest of the building.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your comments. It's very helpful. Anything else, boys?
So we don't have a motion on this, right?
Well, really, the motion is recommend to move forward with those comments, and it does seem like you're very enthusiastic about the design, and we'll go ahead and communicate that to the housing authority because they'll be very interested in your opinion on how it looks like, how it might fit into the context, etc. So we really appreciate that. All your comments and that you're enthusiastic about it gets us very excited too.
Good job.
Can I make a motion?
Make a motion to approve to proceed to final. Okay.
I'll second. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, you got a good voice though.
We have some minutes to deal with, I guess?
That's right.
Actually, we don't have any minutes to deal with.
All right.
I looked, and Mr. Nsua's absence is critical in.
All right, because I can't, I'd have to, there you go.
So I believe Stephanie does have an announcement and some.
Yes, I wanted to remind everyone that we have a joint meeting next week, so we'll see you 2 weeks in a row. How exciting is that for us?
I don't know. How exciting is it?
It is very exciting because we will be presenting the North Glendale Community Plan and Comprehensive Design Guidelines to you. We'll be presenting that to both boards for the first time. Will be a lot of information. So we have provided in advance those documents. Those documents are in color. They look really good in color online. So we'd like you to get familiar with the documents, but we don't expect in 1 week that you will have waded through them. We wanted to provide you with some summer light reading so that in our second joint meeting on July 28th, you will have lots of comments and we'll have a very vital conversation about all the things that we got right and some of the things that you'd like us to add to the community plan and design guidelines.
It's like a summer book report. Oh, I know.
That's right. So the community that worked with us was they were amazing in their consistency in working with us over the last couple of years, the energy that they put into it. So we were very appreciative of their participation, their continued participation over a long period of time, and very appreciative of all they taught us about that community plan area. So we're looking forward to having a good discussion with you. Thank you.
You mentioned that some plans are available online. I'm just wondering for the listening public, where might they find those if they're
Yes,
interested?
thank you. They are on, if you go to the Planning Department website, I think it's in the What's Hot link, North Glendale Community Plan.
Or Glendale Community Plan. Okay, great. Thanks.
Great, thanks a lot.
How long do you think the meeting's going to go?
Well, we'll have a presentation that will be likely 30 to 40 minutes. There may be some community members that want to tell you how much they love the plan. And then however long you'd like to talk about it. The Planning Commission will also get the same presentation the night before. So we'll have, probably by the beginning of the meeting, we'll have a sense of how long that went.
Okay, great.
And we do have a couple of hearing items for Board 2 that will probably go very quickly. So we're expecting to start the joint meeting maybe even before 5:30.
Anything else?
Move we adjourn? Thank you.